Okay, in this video we're going to finish elimination. Yesterday, or the last lesson, what we did was we eliminated things that had the same number, different sign, or we changed the signs to make them different. Now we're going to have some that don't have the same number. Okay, and so remember, one solution is you're going to get an X and Y answer. Remember, no solution and infinite solution. This is when the variables, both of those variables are gone. And then a no solution is something that's false. And an infinite solution is something that's true and it's always working. Okay? So this is the big step that we're going to have to do today, is we're going to have to be multiplying so we get the same coefficient in different signs. Okay? All right, so let's look at some problems. All right, so for number 1, you can either eliminate the the x's or the y's. If you notice, the x's already have different signs, so that's probably what I'm going to eliminate. You could choose either one. You'll get the same answer in the end as long as you do your process correctly. All right, so I have an 8x, a negative 8x, and a positive 1x. I need to get them to be the same number. And so when I multiply negative 8 and a positive 1, I get a negative 8x. So I'm going to have the top one be a negative 8x and the bottom one be a positive 8x. So that way they're different signs. So what I do now is I look to see, what did you multiply negative 8x to get negative 8x by? And I just multiplied by 1. So as I go across, I distribute and multiply everything there by 1. And so I just get the same equation. And here I had to multiply by 8. So I'm going to multiply everything on that bottom equation by 8. And so I get 8x plus 56y equals negative 40. Okay? 8x and negative 8x are gone. 4 and 56 is 60y equals negative 60. So y is negative 1. Okay, when you plug this in, you actually have 4 places you could plug it in. You could plug it into these two or the original two. I tend to plug it into one of the original ones just so that I don't have a mistake. And if I look, the one that's probably easier to plug it in is right here. So it'll be x plus 7 times negative 1 equals negative 5. So that is x minus 7 is negative 5. And then you add 7 to both sides, so x is 2. And that's the answer. If you would have gotten y's the same, you would have found x first, but you still should have got x was 2. So the order that you do them doesn't matter. It's whatever you're comfortable doing. All right, when I look at number 2, I have a negative 4, a negative 6, a negative 7, a negative 4. It really does not matter which ones. In total, if I do 4 times 6, that's smaller than 4 times 7. So I'm probably going to get those numbers the same. And so what I do is, there's a couple things you could do. You could just multiply 4 times 6 to get 24. But you can also see, what's the smallest number that 4 and 6 go into? And the smallest number that 4 and 6 go into is 12. So I'm going to have a 12x and a 12x. One of them needs to be positive, one of them needs to be negative. I'm going to make this bottom one negative and the top one positive. So to get from a negative 4x to a positive 12x, I'm going to have to multiply everything in the top equation by negative 3. So that will give me a positive 21y and a negative 66. Be very careful with that. You have to multiply by the 3 and the negative. Okay? And then down here on the second one, to get from negative 6 to negative 12, you have to multiply by 2. So I'm going to multiply that whole second equation by 2. So I get negative 12x minus 8y is equal to negative 12. My 12x's are gone, and I get 13y is equal to negative 78. And I divide by 13, and I'm pretty sure that's negative 6, and it is. So y is negative 6. Okay, and so now you pick one of these equations. Again, there's 4 equations you could use. I'm probably just going to use this bottom one. I don't know why. There's not really a difference between the top or the bottom of the originals. Negative 6x minus 4 times negative 6 is negative 6. So negative 6x plus 24 is negative 6. And then I minus it, and I get negative 6x is equal to negative 30. And so when I divide, I get 5. And that's the answer. Okay? So you have to get the same number, different signs. You could either just multiply them to get it, or you could find the least common multiple. Not the least common multiple, but the smallest number both go into. Okay, why don't you try 3 and 4 on your own, and when you think you have it, press play. Okay, so if you plugged in the same thing that I did, then it'll be okay. If you didn't, then you're just going to have to wait till the very end to see how you did. When I look at the x's and I look at the y's, I think the easiest one to do is the y's. First of all, because 5 and 10, they both go into 10, versus having to make them 42s. So I would do that one. So I'm going to have a positive 10y, and I'm going to keep this one positive because it's positive on top, and then negative 10y. I didn't give us much space there. Sorry about that. And so the top one I have to multiply by 2. So I get negative 12x and then equals 54. And the bottom one, I didn't have to multiply anything. I just multiplied by 1. So I bring everything over. So the y's are gone, and I get negative 19x is equal to... I just want to double check. I don't want to make a mistake. Oh, I did times. So 54 minus 16 is 38. That's what I thought. And then I divide by negative 19. And so x is negative 2. So now you can plug it in any of these. I'm going to plug it in this top one. So negative 6 times negative 2 plus 5y is 27. So I get 12 plus 5y is 27. Minus 12 on both sides, so 5y is 15, so y is 3. If you did it a different way, you should still get the same answer. If you didn't get the same answer, you've made a mistake somewhere, so try it again. All right, so looking at number 4, if I look at 2 with 7 and 9 with 7, I think these are the easiest ones to make the same. And so I'm going to make them a 14x and a negative 14x. And so the top equation, I have to multiply everything by 7. So I get 63y and 189. The bottom one, I have to multiply everything by 2. So I get 14y and 42. So if you notice, you start to get big numbers, and it's not a big deal. As long as you're multiplying everything, you will get something that's divisible. We usually will not end up with fractions. So I get 77y is equal to 231. And I'm pretty sure this goes into it 3 times, because the only way a 7 can end in a 1 is with a 3. So let's just divide and double check. Yep, and that's 3. So y is 3. And so now I'm going to plug it into one of the 2 equations. I'll probably just choose the top one. So 2x plus 9 times 3 is 27. So 2x plus 27 is 27. So the 27s, when I subtract, are just 0. So x is 0. And again, if you would have crossed off the y's instead of the x's, you still should have got 0, 3. This is one thing that's nice about elimination, is you could do it different ways and get the same answer. But it's also something that can be frustrating about elimination, because you could do it differently than someone else, and it's hard to find your mistake if you make one. Okay, last one. If I had to choose one, I'll just do this one with you guys. I would do the 7 and the 5. I am not wanting to make 49 and 35 the same. Those are way too big. And so 7 times 5 is 35. So I get 35x. 35x. I think I'm going to make the bottom one negative. And so now I have to multiply everything on the top by 5. So 49 times 5 is 245. equals 5. And then I have to multiply everything on the bottom by negative 7. So 35 times negative 7 is negative 245. Actually, it becomes positive 245 because there was already a negative. And then negative 35. So if you notice what happens, we have a special case. A positive 35 and a negative 35 is gone. A negative 245 and a positive 245 is gone. So I'm left on the left with nothing, and the number that represents nothing is 0. So 0 equals negative 30. 0 does not equal negative 30, so this is a no solution because it's a false statement. Okay? All right. I can't stress how important these arrows are going to the right and writing the equation out again. It makes it much easier. It does not take that much time to do that. So do not cut yourself short and only write on top of this. Do this extra step of multiplying across. That's why I did it in all three, because it keeps it nice and organized and it eliminates some mistakes.